Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about the K9 episode, Mind Snap. Written by Bob Baker, who is the creator of K9, who originally wrote the story The Invisible Enemy. This is actually his first written script for anything Doctor Who related since the 1970s, 1980s. I can't actually remember what his last script was, if I gotta be honest with you. It's also co-written by Paul Tam, who helped Bob Baker create the series, as well as had many cameo appearances within the episodes themselves, mainly playing clown or clown-like characters. And is directed by David Napier. Now, this video is going to be a bit hard to discuss because in terms of an actual story, there's nothing really much to talk about here. For this is actually the first ever in the entirety of Doctor Who canon. In fact, this story is very unique as it's the only type of episode of its nature within the Doctor Who universe, within all of its franchise. For you see, this is the first clip show episode in the Doctor Who franchise. For those of you who don't know, clip show episodes is a term described an episode of a particular television series in which it is made up of majority of reused footage from previous episodes. Usually there would be a framing device where characters discuss things and they try to remember things, and it'll be showing episodes. Usually they can also be called recap episodes or best of episodes, though in K9's case best of might be stretching it a bit. Now, this is a common type of television standard in America and mostly overseas from Britain. This is one of the reasons why this is the only series, the only story in Doctor Who canon that does have a clip show episode, because it wasn't made in the BBC. It wasn't made in Britain. It was made either in Canada or Australia, one of those two. But it was made out of seas. And what that does is that usually with programs set out of seas, usually in America, to please American audiences, is that you have a standard of 22, 23 episodes of length. And that's the dead mark that you've got to hit. So to save time, budget and resources, you will try and get as many an episode which can be done on the cheap and can be made extremely quickly. It's mainly known in sitcoms. Most noticeably, Friends has, I believe, a few clip show episodes. There's usually around about one a season. There's rarely two clip shows in a series, and that is something which the BBC and Britain don't really need to worry about, because Britain, in terms of television, organises ourselves vastly different. Sure, we have shows like EastEnders, Coronation Street, all the big soaps, which are fictional stories which are constantly being produced. However, shows like Doctor Who and various others, they basically make as many episodes as they can, and there isn't that need to push an episode out to mandate the episode count. In fact, that is something that some people have been criticising the recent revived series of Doctor Who with, as the number of episodes is going lower and lower and lower. That's mainly because of budgetary reasons, but also as well, it's also incredibly rare with Doctor Who, which has had some sort of American influence and also has had two spin-off series very similar to K9 with Sarah Jane and Torchwood at this point in the history of Doctor Who. And they've never had to have a clip show episode. The closest we've had in terms of clip show is that Evil of the Daleks has a canonical repeat, as in the Wheel in Space, the Doctor shows Zoe one of his adventures, which then ties into a rerun of Evil of the Daleks. That's just mental, but like that's so unusual. That's so bizarre. But that's beside the point. So yeah, this is a very unique and odd, strange thing, and what I think why Doctor Who has never needed a recap episode is because this is the story which thrives on creativity. This is a show that its main concept is to go anywhere and any place, and there's not that real need for a type of episode like this where characters need to calm down and just discuss certain things, and have us as an audience viewer catch up with the best of. If Doctor Who wanted to do a best of, they will just make an episode where these things just happen again, but because of the vastly different location and vastly different settings, it can still, for the most part, feel fresh and unique. So, yeah, this is a very odd, strange and bizarre topic, with the only real interest of it is that we get to talk about essentially a clip show, and I can discuss to you what a clip show is, because funny enough, most people who watch Doctor Who and have Doctor Who as their main fandom might not even know what a clip show episode is. It's very rare that that they appear in big sci-fi action pieces. They're mainly used in dramas and, as I've stated, sitcoms. I wonder if Only Fools and Horses has any clip show episodes. But they're usually the episodes that people skip, because there's not really anything in terms of the larger canon or even the smaller canon that's noteworthy. It's literally just characters having this framework where they remember stuff, and we as an audience viewer get to watch literally a 5 or even a 10-minute clip from a previous episode. So in terms of the main original story in this, we've probably got about 10 minutes worth of content, and it's not that engaging, if I must be honest. K9 has found that he starts randomly connecting with Professor Griffiths' time machine. I can't remember what it's called, but it seems to just automatically open itself, and somehow K9 seems to be getting a signal, and it is somehow connected in some way, and K9 theorizes that this could be used as an example to restore his memory, something which was previously established. You know, he's lost all his memories prior to meeting our characters in the episode Regeneration, the first episode of the K9 series. And so Professor Griffiths and Starkey, who I would like to add, these are the only 3 characters that appear in the framework of the story. They basically see this opportunity, in a sense, in terms of a science, that there is this connection between K9 and his time machine, and if it could be exploited, K9 could regain all of his memories. So, but Griffiths finds this incredibly dangerous, and it could, in fact, harm K9. But K9 is determined, seeing that there's no other way. He's thinking more logical than our other characters. So Griffiths turns it on. It starts to malfunction straight away. K9 seems to be in a lot of damage. When the effects wear off, K9 starts seeing Starkey and Griffiths as an alien threat. And after they convinced him that they're not an alien threat, it turns out that K9 has started to lose some memory. He doesn't really know who Starkey and Griffith are. And as well, K9 just really doesn't act like K9. He actually, not only does he let them call him a dog, he actually encourages it and calls himself a dog. Something which has been a running gag in the series, that K9 does not like being called a dog. He's a robotic synthesized organism or something. That's kind of like one of the running gags, so it is kind of amusing to see K9 trying to figure himself out. And then this where is the framework of the episode, in which our characters try to jog K9's memory back, and K9, when characters mention something, or when Griffiths does something technical with his brain, it opens up some of his memory banks and connects him to these previous episode clips. And in terms of K9 as a series, I think there's a really big issue with how this story sets itself up as a clip show episode. Because one of the, I wouldn't say a benefit, like I said, a lot of people, I can't think of a single person who actually likes clip show episodes. But one of the main concepts, one of the main things to go into a clip show episode is the best of content. But you are going into an episode and essentially rewatching and re-establishing all of your favourite moments in the series. But there's this big underlying problem with the series, which makes this episode right from the get-go a very uninteresting watch. And it's kind of a big deal when you think about it in terms of the series, because all the best moments in the series, K9 is rarely in the scenes, which means the story has to rely with the best of scenes which K9 has a sort of emotional connection to. There are some good ones. There's the clips of Fear itself, where K9 goes into the cabinet and suffers through his nightmare vision of a Jixen warrior coming up towards him. That's a really cool clip. There's also the one in the Coven where K9 is knocked out and is got to re-establish himself. There's also that scene in I can't remember which one it is, but basically K9 is knocked in a bin and Griffiths is just like, come on K9, if you don't get up and you don't even attempt to save them and they die, it's on you. And then K9 kind of gets up and is just like, actually, what you said had nothing to do with it. I just got up because I was recalibrated in my brain, and now I'm actually perfectly suitable for the situation. You also, of course, get the first scene of K9 in Regeneration, as well as other clips which really I don't understand why some of them are in there. There's one clip from the Lost Library of Unox, which is there, where it's that scene in which Thorn and Darius are swapping technologies for the card, if you know what I'm on about. That's a pretty decent episode for the series. Pretty damn good episode for the series. I've done a marathon episode on that if you haven't seen it. But it's just a strange, odd, it's not like one of the best scenes this story has to offer. They show the ending to Dream Eaters, where K9 does nothing. It's really strange. I love this bit because they kind of set up that because K9 is just like, I'm a robot, I don't dream. And then Starkey's just like, well, wait until we show you a bit of your past about dreams. But they don't actually show any clips of K9 in an actual dream. Because he does appear in a dream in that episode. But the clip that they use is the conclusion of that episode where Georgie puts herself into her mother's dream and gets the tattoo. If you remember, you probably don't remember, but that scene. Why? I mean, K9 fights the creature outside in the real world. When I say creature, it's just a ornament with the crystal that's making everybody have all of these dreams. K9 fights, tries to fight it, but it's blocked by force fields and stuff. But it's just a really strange, bizarre, especially how this episode kind of sets up for a perfect scene that K9 does actually have in that episode. It felt like they were building up to that scene, but somebody accidentally played the wrong clip from that episode. But yeah, it's just so odd that we have a clip show episode in the Doctor Who canon at all. Like, in any cases, if there's an episode where you could only film 10 minutes, the production would just go, okay, we'll make it an episode shorter, and we'll use that time to as reshoot other episodes, get better shots, or even just more time on to film another episode. But here, it's really just strange and bizarre. And slowly K9 starts to remember. But what I find really disingenuous, what really ruins the whole framework of the story, is that our characters are trying to get K9 to remember, and there's this, not an emotional struggle, but there is this dilemma which is established to be interesting. I don't say it's interesting per se, but in terms of a writer, there's a clear goal, a clear idea there to say, and that's our characters trying to get K9 to remember in a way that they're trying to just bring out the memories, and it's kind of hurting that K9's struggling or slowing into realizing who he is previously. But the actual ending to the episode doesn't actually work like that. Essentially, K9 comes up with an idea to reorganize his brain in a sense which will disconnect him to the time machine completely. Griffith points out that this is extremely dangerous, and if gone wrong, K9 could lose all of his memories permanently. He would become just a completely new entity. And K9 is just like, there is no other logical way. It has to be done. They do it, and the episode ends with essentially K9 regaining his memories and losing his connection to this, to Professor Griffith's time machine. Again, I can't remember for the life of me what it's called. That's essentially the end of the episode. So that is Mind Snap. And I feel like for what the story is setting up, usually, characters losing their memory and have to be reminded by their friends and loved ones is a common trope within sci-fi, in fiction, but specifically sci-fi. And they use this kind of concept to make a bottle episode around, which isn't such a bad idea, to be honest with you. It's just really the execution and the poor landing and the poor choices of clips really lets it down. But I think what makes this worse, what makes this a completely useless episode to watch in terms of just getting into it and narratively structure, is that the episode just kind of cops out. K9 never remembers, though he does slowly start to remember. It feels like the story is like, right, we can't have K9 just do this. It'll take too slow for him to remember everything like this. We need a quick start, jump, have this small little risk that, he might lose his memory, but tick it, and then he regains his memories. Bing, bang, boom. And yeah, it does happen in these amnesia stories, but here it just felt really disingenuous to the emotional stakes this story was building up within its narrative structure. And that's really, you could talk about Mind Snap. There's nothing really much to it. Overall, there's a reason why Doctor Who and Sarah Jane and Torchwood don't do clip shows. Because, for a good reason, they're not very popular. But also as well, unlike productions mainly outside of the UK, the BBC never has to really worry about keeping a series to a standard of a certain amount of episodes. It's Doctor Who's like usually like 13 episodes in the revived series anyway, so it's kind of like you have a handful of episodes but you build them up, whilst other shows like say CSI would have a certain amount of episodes and you only really focus on some, leaving the budget to fluctuate on certain episodes, and then you get a clip show episode. I'm sure CSI has a few clip show episodes to its name. But yeah, there's a reason why they're not popular. It's because, like, who is this for? You're either A, someone who doesn't like the K9 series. If so, you're not going to be emotionally connected to all of these scenes that you're rewatching, and some of the scenes seem really out of place to the main narrative, that you're not going to be connected to it. Or you're a fan of the K9 series, someone who has been watching every other episode. I'm not considering myself a fan of this series, but I have seen every episode up to this point, and I've seen every episode. Why am I watching it again? It's of course, the idea of course is when the episode aired, you would watch an episode once a week, so younger audience might not have remembered what happened like 4 or 5 months ago, so you might need a reminder. But it's nothing like anything really important. Nothing to do really with the department, especially with the exception of one scene, mainly talking about Thorne as their enemy and Georgie, his mother, being an ally of sorts. But it doesn't really establish the threat. It's mainly just, this episode seems to be made for somebody who hasn't actually seen the K9 series. And I say, as much as Regeneration is a completely poorly mess, it's a much better introduction because it's at least actually something. Here it's complete fluff in the worst way possible. It's not bad, not good, it's just nothing. And that's all I can really say on Mind Snap. This video is really downbeat. And it's much longer than I anticipated. It's like 23 minutes long. So that's a bit strange. So that's Mind Snap. That's all I'm going to say about that. So join me next time where Doctor, Amy and Rory find themselves in a factory castle-like setting where there seems to be some murders about, as we have a bunch of doppelgangers running around, genetically engineered clones, which are somehow gaining their own sentience, as some mysteries get resolved. So join me next time for the 2-parter, The Rebel Flesh and The Almost People, and I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-da!